YouTube, your boy Will coming back with another video or a weekend update video on AMC, but also on earnings week. So as we touched base on Friday's video, I'd let you guys know, or we did a little bit of a deep dive into Pinterest earnings. Well, this week we have some additional earnings that are pretty important to us, primarily AMC, as you can see here, after the closing bell Monday, will be reporting earnings. So kind of like Pinterest when they reported their financials to us and we took a deep dive into it. We'll be able to do the same for AMC. But aside from that, as you can see throughout the week, there's going to be various companies that are going to be reporting. Some of these companies you guys may know, some of these you may not. But either way, it gives you a good opportunity to take a look into some financials if you wanted to test some of the things we looked at from Friday's video for some other opportunities that may be out there. For example, Trading Desk is another trading app you can use to trade stock. AMC, obviously we know AMC. Workhorse is a last mile EV delivery company. So they're developing vehicles, electric vehicles to do last mile deliveries, kind of like UPS, FedEx, Amazon kind of deal. Smile, everybody knows about the braces. Dish Network, Callaway Golf if you're a golf player. Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, very important earnings here, very large contributor to the market. Tuesday we have Fubo TV. This is a company that's trying to make a TV streaming company with sports betting included. It's kind of early stages, but again, a lot of potential here as this is legal in Europe, not so much here in the US yet. Coinbase for crypto people that like crypto. Just taking a real quick look. McAfee, internet security. Wendy's, Neo is a Chinese EV company, very huge competitor to Tesla, or thought to be one day. Wix, social media for businesses. Clover Health, it's a medical company, medical insurance company, or other opportunity company essentially. Open Door is a mortgage company. Helion is a hybrid energy company. Coupang is the Amazon of South Korea or Asia essentially. Everybody knows eBay. Blink is an EV charging company. EVgo, another EV company. Lordstown is a EV truck company essentially. Palantir is a metadata company. Very huge opportunity here, very early stages. This one actually just hit the market last year. I was an early investor in this. I'm still highly interested. I posted a lot about this on my IG in my early stock pick videos that I put out on IG. Sundial is for anyone interested in marijuana plays. Tattoo Chef is one that I've published a lot. DoorDash, as you can see. SoFi is a fintech company. They got a lot of good opportunities in the financial sector, online especially. If you haven't looked into them, I highly recommend them. Airbnb, obviously, I'm sure most of us have used Airbnb. Wish is another kind of Amazon company. Well, Disney. So as you guys can see, depending on these earnings, it kind of gives you a trend of the market if you do go into deep dives, kind of like what we did with Pinterest on Friday. But today I wanted to talk to more about AMC, as they do have earnings reporting on Monday, so that will have a big impact as to what it might do the rest of the week. But then again, there's some things you guys need to consider, especially around AMC, because there's more factors than just earnings. Obviously, we're coming out of the strongest point of the pandemic, right? The recovery is still kind of up in the air as to which way we're going to go. There's a little bit of news coming out of the Delta variant, so there's a lot of factors you have to consider aside from the things we already know to be fact, right? There was something cool that we missed the other day in the chart. I actually highlighted it for us to take a look at. Something you guys can kind of learn as well. Something called the double bottom. As you can see here, I highlighted it with the gray box. AMC fell, hit, shot back up after about a day, and then went back down to the same touch point. This pattern formation here is called a double bottom. So for those that don't know what a double bottom is, a double bottom pattern is a technical analysis charting pattern that describes a change in trend and in momentum reversal prior to leading price action. It describes a drop in stock price or index to rebound to another drop, the same or similar level of the original drop, and finally another rebound. As you can see here, it signifies a potential bullish reversal signal. So why I wanted to talk about this today is because when you can identify patterns, it gives you kind of segue or a leadway into trends. So as you can see, this is on the 1 hour chart, but if we go to the 1 day chart, obviously it doesn't look the same, right? It just looks like nothing. So this is why the significance, as well as looking at other charts, not just the 1 day chart, but looking at, for example, the 4 day. As you can see, that pattern is more clearly visible the more amount of bars you put into your charts. So just always keep an eye on that. As I mentioned, I would be teaching you guys pattern formations and fundamentals. That's the goal here. So I did miss this completely. Normally when you see a double bottom, there is usually a bullish sentiment after that, or a run up essentially, right? Which we see here. We did get a nice run up after this double bottom. For those that don't have Lucid Tracking like I do to kind of track short interest, there is another site you can use called Finviz, finviz.com. It's a screening essentially website where you can go in and look just for specifically patterns. As you can see here, double bottom is included in this, and it just basically gives you an onset of stocks that have been identified to have double bottoms, as you can see, and they're all labeled on the chart. So if you wanted to get a better insight as to what you need to look at or what company you should be looking at, Finviz obviously is a good one. So just keep that in the back of your mind, or keep that in your pocketbook. Again, the more tools you have and the better you know how to use them, the better investor you will become in the long run. But going back to AMC, the one thing I did want to talk about that we consider with earnings, because obviously we're not going to get the earnings we want to see out of AMC, because again, the pandemic is still not over. We're not back to fully normal. And yes, we have been releasing hit blockbuster movies, which plays a big impact in how much money AMC will generate. And plus, as we've seen from Twitter, all the new things they're doing, like showing the UFC fights, showing concert movies in the movie theaters. They're doing a lot of things to try to improve the revenue as best as possible to get it back to what it was prior to the pandemic starting, which if we go here to earnings, as you guys can see, they were trending into the billions prior to 2020. Like in 2019, 1.3 billion, early 2020, 1.46 billion, but then after you see the pandemic, it made a huge impact. It went from the billions down to the millions. In late 2020, or almost a year ago, we were down to 20.96 million. But to show sentiment, positive sentiment, we also do see an increase as from August to November, quarter 2 to quarter 3, or quarter 3 to quarter 4, to quarter 1. Again, there was a dip, but again, we are barely coming out of the pandemic, so that's something we have to keep into consideration when looking at earnings for AMC. There's more on the plate than just specifically earnings, which, to be more specific as to what I'm actually trying to imply or refer to, is short interest, right? So this is another thing I wanted to show you guys. You have 3 different websites up here. You have Lucid, Finviz, Marketbeat, right? I touched base on this the other day that I wouldn't sell my position or close my position until I could see that this short shares or short interest on AMC was gone. Because as long as this is here, it's indicative that the reason why we're in AMC is still valid. Well, if you go into Finviz, they're reporting 22.81% short interest. If you go into Marketbeat, they are reporting 15.95% short interest. If you go into Lucid, obviously they're reporting 16. So that kind of gives you confirmation. The short is still there. They have not closed out their position, which if they haven't closed out their position, I have no reason to either, in my view, right? Because all I see is positive potential here. But the other thing you need to look at is why do we, or YouTube, especially YouTubers, emphasize so much on short interest, right? Well, if you go and look up what short interest is, and this is just Power Cycle Trading, it's one of many websites that reports it. Why or how is short interest ratio important? What is considered high interest, right? As you can see right here, short interest is a percentage of a float. 10% indicates strong positive sentiment, right? Which means they believe it'll go down. But when you see short interest percentage of float, 10% is fairly high, indicating a significant pessimistic sentiment or a negative view. Short interest percentage of float, 20% is extremely high. So yeah, as we're looking at these percentages, 15, 22, and 16, obviously, as I've mentioned, it's not required for them to report short interest, so it's based on calculation from day-to-day trends. 1, 2, the spike we had in June 2nd, calculating the run-up, how many short shares they did cover, is how we get gauges as to how much short interest is out there. But the overall consensus, again, as you see from various reportings, it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. They've only added to their position more and more to try to bring the price down further and further. I have a feeling they're going to use earnings, and because we're going to be reporting lower numbers, to try to short it more, to try to convince people who are inexperienced or new to the market, oh, this is a failing stock, or it's going to keep going down, right? But you always have to remember, that's a psychological game. That's what they want you to think. We have other tools at our disposal to show that they are still short at least 79.75 million shares, right? And again, it's not just one area, it's multiple areas you can find this information, and they're all tracking at the same trend. We at least know it's minimum 15, and on the high side, we know it's around 22. Where exactly it is, no one really knows. But that's also why we see this huge spike in January 27th when we did our first run up from $1.90 to 20. Had they closed their position here, we would have never seen this run up we got here on June 2nd to 72. The fact that we did, and the fact they've been shorting since June 2nd to try to bring the price down as best as possible in this downgraded channel, as you can see here, but yet hit a floor every time they get anywhere near, which we put our floor here at 25.34 was the lowest. That's the next floor after the 30s. But as we see here from the chart, from this point in the 30s, 31.73, they have not been able to bring us down past that point. The one day that we did, we shot right back up the next day, and now here we are on an upward trend on this upward channel we've already identified, which actually, funny enough, if we look at this closely on a chart and zoom out, we see another double bottom, which again is indicative of positive sentiment. Again, it's not always, but it kind of reaffirms where we stand and what we're seeing to keep either in our position or not. But these are the things you kind of have to look at day in and day out to know when is a good time to close my position or when is a good time to add. And the way I see it, they've been giving us sale opportunities after sale opportunities after sale opportunities by dipping the price for us cheaper. I mean, seriously, why would you want to buy it at 77 or 72 when you can buy it at 28 and enjoy that ride up again? Because again, going back to the fundamentals, the short position is still there. They have not closed it, and it's still reporting that they're still adding to their position, as we see here, going from 75 million to 79 million. I think you guys get the picture. But again, I wanted to touch base on these things because, again, this week is a very important week with earnings, and we're going to lead off Monday afternoon after market close. But additionally to that, we can also pay attention to some of these other companies that are going to be reporting earnings to see, or to get a bigger idea or a macro perspective of what the economy is doing, right? So that's really all I have for you guys on the weekend update video. If you guys have questions or concerns, leave them down below. I'll be happy to get to you. Otherwise, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to keep improving these videos video after video to try to give you guys better content, better information to learn. So the sooner you subscribe, the sooner you'll get notification of my new videos. Otherwise, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.